This podcast is part of Mishmash Media. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. Welcome to another episode of Curbcast. My name is Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are at the back end of Season 5 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. We're talking about Episode 6, The Smoking Jacket. And every week, we watch every episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm in chronological order and review them scene by scene. And Stephen, The Smoking Jacket had, for me, it had its funny moments, but probably one of the weaker episodes of this season. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. Overall, I thought it was okay, but there were a lot of weak points, and compared to the rest of season 5 so far, I didn't really enjoy it as much. But yeah, not too bad, just not that great.
Yeah, like I said, there were a few funny moments which were pretty good, but then I don't know, it wasn't really inspiring.
Yeah, it was a bit more. I thought some of the topics were really interesting, but they just didn't lean as far into it as Curb normally does, where they really push it. It felt like they were holding back a bit, or they were just tripping over themselves a bit. I don't know, something was a bit off, but still good, but just a bit. It didn't quite reach its full potential.
No, it didn't. But maybe it was like a filler episode for the next one. I got no idea, because Larry does talk about his private investigator to his cousin Handy, who's in the episode, but it doesn't really go further than that.
Yeah, and I mean, not every episode's going to be a winner. You're always going to have a few duds. Even during the peak of a show's run, there's always going to be episodes that don't hold up as well against the rest. So this just seemingly is one of them.
Oh, well, it's the way it goes. They can't all be winners. They can't all be Playboy playmates, can they?
No, some of them run away at the sight of Larry.
They do, like in the episode. Anyway, you can follow us on social media if you want to say hello. Curbcast Pod is where we're at. You can email us if you want to say hello or talk about today's episode, or about Curb in general. Curbcastpod@gmail.com and Steve, we have a Patreon as well.
Yep, patreon.com/mishmash media, which is the name of our podcast network in which we put Curbcast out under. And if you want to sign up for that, it's $1 a month US, and you do get access to a whole bunch of old content that we've done previous to Curbcast. We don't have any bonus content at the moment, but we are working on that, and that should be coming soon. So if you just want to support us for now, that would be amazing. And if you want to support us non-financially as well, that would be cool. You can rate us or review us on your podcast app of choice, or just spread the word. Tell people, you might know some other fans of Curb or Seinfeld or whatever, and just let them know about us. That would be sweet too.
That would be very, very sweet. Anyway, let's get into it. Season 5, Episode 6 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Smoking Jacket, aired in the United States on November 6th, 2005 for the very first time. In this episode, Larry joins the Make-A-Wish Foundation and he swaps his smoking jacket with Hugh Hefner. And the only trivia fact that I have, Steve, I'm not too familiar with golf and, the Masters and that sort of thing. I don't think I'm old enough to appreciate that sport just yet.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm older, I'll start playing. But Gary Player, he plays himself in the end of the episode. He's a real-life golfer, a retired South African golfer, a champion. He won the Masters in 1960, I believe. And with the Masters champions, so for those who don't know much about golf, if you win at Augusta National Golf Club, I think it's in the state of Georgia in the US, you become the Masters champion and you receive a green jacket. And apparently, I read that Masters champions, they're typically allowed to take their green jacket off the grounds of the golf club for only 1 year after winning. And Gary famously broke that rule in 1961. So as we can see in the episode, obviously in real life as well, he has the green jacket displayed in a cabinet, whereas he should have had it at Augusta.
So are they supposed to return it and it goes into a museum or something? Or like what
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but apparently they can only take it with them for a year. And then when that year expires, they've got to hand it back, possibly maybe for memorabilia or for a collection or something. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But Gary... he was famous. In 1961, he thought, fuck it, I'm keeping it. And he's kept it ever since.
I like it. He's like, I want it. He's like, no, fuck you. I'm a South African.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping my jacket.
Yeah. They don't give a fuck. They're I'm good.
Apologies to all the South Africans out there if you're listening. That was my terrible South African accent. But no, I respect that. He's like, you know what? I want it. And I mean, I understand. It reminds me of the Ashes, which is a well-known ongoing cricket rivalry between England and Australia.
Rest in peace, Shane Warne.
Yeah, and Rod Marsh, two legends dead in 24 hours. It's
within like a day of each other.
I know, and it's kind of creepy that Shane Warne's last tweet was a tribute to Rod Marsh, and then a couple of hours later he was dead. Yeah, pretty crazy.
Very ominous. Very sad.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's one not positive, but at least Warney sort of died how he lived. He partied hard, he lived hard, he never let up, and I think he kind of kind of went out almost like a rock star, you know, like he went out in the way that I would expect him to, in a way, you know. It's not like he.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I think his life
get you,
contributed to his cause of death, which was a heart attack. And I don't know, just as tragic as it is, you know, in some weird twisted way for me, it kind of seems fitting.
It seems fitting. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people mention that on social media.
Yeah, and I
pretty sad nonetheless. He was only 52.
Yeah, and look, I don't mean to make light of, you know, obviously it's horrible for cricket fans and for his family and his kids and everything, but, you know, just trying to take one small, potentially positive thing out of a horrible situation. That's, I don't know, the thought occurred to me. Anyway.
But anyway, you're talking about the Ashes.
Yeah, you know, and that's a trophy that there's one Ashes trophy. It's not like every year whoever wins the Ashes series gets to take home a new trophy. Or it's like the World Cup or the Stanley Cup. You know, it's a trophy that's passed to the team that's won for that year. If the Masters jacket was like that, I would understand. It's like, well, you have it for a year and then it's passed to the next person who wins it. But I think each person gets their own jacket because it's a jacket. You know, like you would have to make a new one, otherwise it would just rot. You wouldn't just pass the same old jacket for 50, 60, 70, 80 years or whatever.
So, no, you get your own, yeah.
Yeah, so I get, you know, if it's one trophy that you just keep for the year and you hand it back, that makes sense to me. But if you're getting your own jacket, it's like it's yours. It's like you won, here's a jacket. Why are you handing it back? It's just very weird to me.
It's just probably just a rule. I don't know. I'm not in high society. I'm not in Georgian high society in the state of, I think, Georgia, where Augusta National Golf Club is. Yeah, I'm not familiar with
I don't know
with that society. I got no idea.
Most of my golf knowledge comes from either Greg Norman, who was a famous Australian golfer, or is, and Happy Gilmore. That's really about it.
Get in the hole.
Get in the hole.
Just tap it in.
Tap.
We've got to see that movie again.
Yeah, I think most people our age would agree that most of their knowledge of golf probably comes from Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, they all beat each other up on the course.
Yeah.
That's from what I remember.
Yeah. Golf's very violent.
It is. Oh, extremely, yeah. Very. Anyway, let's put on our smoking jackets and talk about the smoking jacket, Steve.
Yeah.
First scene, Larry blows out his birthday candles with Cheryl and Jeff watching. Jeff asks what Larry's birthday wish was, but Larry says it's personal and that he won't tell him. Jeff says that he probably wished that Lewis would die so he doesn't have to give his kidney. That's in reference to last week's episode, Lewis needs a kidney. Larry denies and questions this, and the other two, as in Cheryl and Jeff, don't believe him. Jeff gives Larry a present, and he's very happy about this. He tries opening the gift, but Jeff wants to open it as well, as they fight to decide who opens it. Larry opens it, and it's revealed to be a green sports jacket. Larry asks where Cheryl's gift is, and she says it's on hold, as she has to confirm something before she receives the gift. Larry's pretty pushy to Cheryl. You know, Larry's like, where's my present? And Cheryl's like, yeah, it's on the way, but I just got to make sure that everything's okay before I go ahead.
Yeah, Larry's being a bit bratty, I think. Just, you know,
even like a child. He's like, "Where's my gift?"
Yeah, even when he has that,
my wife.
Even when he has that little squabble with Jeff, it just reminds me of a bratty teenager. Where's my gift? You know, give me what I want. It's just a bit pathetic, really.
Yeah, a bit pathetic, I know. Well, it's actually, it alludes to a later scene where we find out that Andy, Larry's cousin, would get gifts when it's Larry's birthday, so he didn't feel left out. It's kind of like very similar to that.
Yeah, there was just this like bratty entitlement to it. It just reminds me of like a spoiled bratty teenager. Like, you know, where's my gift? And that little squabble. And I don't know, it's just Larry being a little bratty baby.
Probably because he thinks it's his birthday, he can be more of a brat than he is already.
Yeah. And I mean, look, you know, he is, even though we love him, he is very self-centered anyway. So it's not completely out of character. But yeah, I think his birthday just gives him a little extra entitlement.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Larry opens the door and his cousin Andy arrives with his bags. They're chit-chatting as Jeff says hello. Jeff tells Larry that he's been invited to one of Hugh Hefner's parties over at the Playboy Mansion. He invites Larry, who is hesitant. Andy wants to go as he heads to the bathroom. Larry asks him, while Andy's in the bathroom, asks Andy about if his parents said if he's adopted. Andy says he's unsure. The scene cuts to Larry questioning Andy as he finishes in the bathroom and walks out. Andy says he hasn't heard anything about this as he is surprised at Larry's revelation. Andy says that he is nuts for hiring a private investigator to investigate, as Andy goes to say hello to Cheryl, and he drops the magazine he was reading on the toilet, on the stand, the table. Larry picks up the magazine that Andy took to the toilet with tissues in his hand. Very reminiscent of our mate Jerry Seinfeld from the the previous show.
Yeah, very, very germophobic and concerned about hygiene.
Yes.
Maybe we have seen Larry like this in previous episodes, but I can't recall. I don't ever remember him being especially grossed out by, something that someone has touched after being in the loo or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't remember any like germophobic tendencies.
No, I mean he's a very, he's a very like clean cut kind of guy. He's not a slob at all. But yeah, I've never seen him go this far where he's just like completely grossed out and he has to throw it away.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of I don't know, maybe because it's his cousin or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Or he saw that the magazine went in the toilet and there was like shit particles that went on it.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's got to like hold it.
I'm sure. I mean, he does seem to have a certain extra amount of distaste for Andy and anything Andy does. So yeah, maybe it was just Andy. If it was,
maybe
if it was someone else, if it was Jeff, it'd be like, oh, well, that's a bit gross, but I can live with it. But because it's Andy, it's like, ugh, get that out of here.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Probably because it's Andy, and they've got like a rivalry.
Yeah, there's an extra amount of disdain and just unhappiness with anything Andy does.
An extra amount of stain on the magazine.
Yeah.
Larry throws the magazine in the garbage. Larry is in the hospital and greets Lewis's doctor as Lewis is lying in a coma. The doctor says that Lewis's coma is irreversible and his prognosis is not good. Larry asks how long he has to live, and the doctor says it's hard to say. I love this part. Larry probes what time period exactly, like weeks, days. What do you think? And if the doctor had to pick one, what would it be? The doctor refuses to answer. Larry asks what will happen to Lewis's mustache when he dies. The doctor says it'll continue to grow, and he mentions that there's a staff member who goes to trim the hair on coma patients. Larry implies that Lewis has all these organs he can donate in this state, or, when he dies, as the doctor walks off. So basically, in this scene, Larry is basically trying to goad the doctor into taking out Lewis's organs, i.e. the kidney for Richard, his cousin, rather than Larry jumping on the operating table.
Yeah, he's just trying to gauge the likelihood of him dying and increase his certainty, and not wanting to have to donate his kidney to Richard, because he's really unwilling to do it. And you can see that the doctor's becoming more and more uncomfortable as Larry's trying to get more and more specific. At first, I think the doctor thinks, he's just asking questions because he's concerned or he's curious. But when he keeps on pushing it just slightly, like, how long? Weeks, months? Like you can tell that the doctor's just becoming slightly more, he's just a bit dubious of Larry's, so are you asking out of concern or is there some ulterior motive here? Frankly, I don't think he specifically understands the line of like where Larry's coming from, but he just senses something's a bit off. He's like, this is more than just concern. There's something else going on here. And he politely leaves the room.
He does. Yeah. He walks away after being questioned a lot.
Yeah. Because at first I think he even says something like, that's nice of you to come down here. Or, he compliments Larry's. Oh no, sorry. That's later in the episode where he compliments.
That's later in the episode. Yeah. He compliments Larry for turning up.
Yeah. But he thinks Larry's just coming there and asking questions out of concern, but he knows something's up when he just keeps on pushing it. And,
he's got a feeling.
Yeah. It didn't seem like he picked up exactly where Larry was trying to do, but he just sensed something was a bit off. He's like, there's something going on here.
A little bit strange. And he read the room correctly and he walked away.
Exactly.
Larry hits some of Lewis's cables as a boy next to another bed asks what Larry is doing as he opens the curtain. He asks if Larry pulled the plug, and he'll say that he'll tell on Larry, and as it looked like Larry was about to kill him. Larry denies this even though the boy heard the conversation. The boy says he will forgive Larry if he grants his Make-A-Wish, as the Make-A-Wish Foundation won't do it for him. Larry asks what the wish is. The boy says that he wants to see a naked woman, and Larry says he'd love to help the boy, who introduces himself as Wilson. And Wilson, they talk about Cheryl, and Wilson says that Cheryl being naked would be fine, but Larry refuses this and says he will find another woman for Wilson. So Wilson, has a terminal illness by the looks of it, and usually with what the Make-A-Wish Foundation does wishes for kids who are have a debilitating disease, or they're they don't have much time left on this earth. But I can understand why the Make-A-Wish Foundation wouldn't grant something like that. It'd be extremely unethical.
Yeah, and just inappropriate.
And illegal.
Yeah, I mean,
inappropriate as well.
Good on him. Good on him for having the balls to ask. Is like, most kids would probably want to go to Disneyland, or I'm sure a lot of younger kids are like, especially like younger boys, would be like, I do want to see a naked woman, but they wouldn't have the confidence to ask. But, Wilson doesn't fuck around. Good on him. It's like, I want to see some tits, and they knocked it back.
Yeah.
And I'm still
No, he's good.
I'm still determined to see some tits, and I'm gonna blackmail this dude, this random guy. Like, he's determined, and even with such a heavy cloud over his life, he's focused. I respect that. He's
a very smart kid, very confident.
He's an operator. He's sharp.
He's a smooth operator. He is.
Yeah, he is. It's just he knows what he wants, and he's just gonna. If he can't get it by legitimate means, if the Make-A-Wish Foundation knocks his request back, then he's going to figure out another way, and Larry presents a perfect opportunity for him. I was surprised to see Larry sort of acquiesce, because he didn't have a lot on Larry. All he would have said was, because he kind of used Larry's conversation and the fact that he caught him fiddling around with the cables. He didn't have him dead to rights. It was a bit like Larry could have just been, Larry even says, well, I was just asking questions and the cables dropped, so I was picking them up. And I think...
Yeah, no, that's true. No, Larry tripped over the cables and they fell. He didn't deliberately do it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the kid had him... it's not like the kid caught him something that Larry couldn't deny if the kid told on him. Like, if the kid made good on his threat and told Cheryl or the doctor or whoever that, hey, I think this guy's up to something, Larry could just be like, no, you're like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't have a lot on him. So it was weird that Larry was just so agreeable. He was just like, well, you caught me. I better do what you want. It was, it's a funny situation, and obviously it sets up the rest of the episode, but Larry doesn't normally just roll over like that, especially when, he didn't have a strong case. He didn't have hard evidence on Larry, or, Larry could have very easily just dismissed the situation if someone brought it up with him, if the kid told on him.
But then again, I think the collateral is Larry's kidney. I think that's probably what it is. Even though he seemed pretty lighthearted on the surface, probably subconsciously he was thinking, shit, if they find out, if he tells on me and says that I tried killing Lewis, maybe they'll use his organs for other people and I'll still have to go ahead with Richard's thing. I think Larry's just shit scared of donating a kidney.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the back of his mind. Even though he was pretty casual about the whole thing. He was trying to play it cool, but I think deep down he was like, oh fuck, this kid will just fuck up this golden opportunity I have with Lewis, half dead, basically brain dead.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, but that's how I think as well. But yeah, you're right. I'm surprised that Larry didn't put up more of a fight.
Yeah, he was just
if the stakes were like his kidney, you think maybe he'd put up more of a fight.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, he was just, you're right. He just rolled over. That was a bit weird.
Yeah, like the kid, because all the kid had on him was, I overheard you ask some weird questions, and Larry didn't even get dark or get really specific with his questioning. It was just sort of subtly leading to a certain answer with the doctor. And, that's Larry could easily say, I was just asking because I was curious and I'm concerned. And I don't think that would be unbelievable. And yeah, the cables, it's not like he caught him at the wall outlet trying to pull the plug out, or, that's, yeah, it was so, he didn't have anything on him really. And Larry was just like, yeah, you got me. I better do what you say so I don't get dobbed on. It was
weird reactions.
It was just surprising to see Larry acquiesce that easily based on not a whole lot.
Yeah, that was a bit strange. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really weird. A really weird character development for Larry.
And it's a kid as well. It's like, piss off, you little turd. Like, no one's going to believe you.
It's like, don't have long to live anyway, kid.
Yeah.
Will you live to tell the tale to the hospital staff?
Who's going to believe a teenager who asked to see tits as his dying wish? It's like, you got nothing.
Exactly.
No credibility.
No, zero credibility.
Larry David.
That's it. Back at home, Cheryl finds a package for Andy. It's a smoking jacket from Larry's father. Larry says it's likely a birthday gift for him, and he explains that when they were younger, Andy used to get toys on Larry's birthday, so he didn't feel left out. They begin arguing about whose jacket it is. Larry says his father got confused and was meant to send it to Larry rather than Andy, but Andy thinks it's for him. Cheryl asks Larry where her Us magazine is, and Larry says he threw it out. She says that there was a phone number on the magazine, and Larry threw it out because Andy took it into the toilet. As they begin arguing about the smoking jacket, and Larry tries to take it off his body as Andy's wearing it. So yeah, a few things that happen in the scene. So the smoking jacket. Since Larry's father had the stroke earlier on, I think was it episode 1? He had the stroke. Episode 1 or 2?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because that led to the whole adoption storyline.
The whole adoption situation, that's right, episode 1, the Larry David sandwich. So we can see that Larry's father is on the decline mentally as well. Yeah, getting very confused. And we can see that he's unfortunately regressing after the complications from the stroke. He mentions, this is later on, he mentions he doesn't like the nursing home, but we'll talk about that in that scene. Yeah, and we find out more about Andy and Larry growing up as well. Andy was always a jealous kid, and whenever Larry got a present, Andy would get one as well. So he didn't feel left out. So he was a very needy child as well, and he feels like his uncle, Larry's dad, got him a pretty cool gift, but it was actually possibly for Larry.
Well, I think it was. I mean, I don't think Larry's off the mark at all in this situation. I think he's totally correct in that, well, he knows his father better than him. He knows what his father used to do for Andy, getting him a gift so he wouldn't feel left out. He knows that, like, Larry's solid. I don't think Larry's trying to take advantage of the situation and pretend that it's for him. So, yeah, I think Andy's just being a brat. It's funny, everyone's being a bit bratty in this episode over, like, gifts and birthday. Yeah. Everyone's kind of like turning into bratty teenagers.
I know. Everyone's a kid, especially Andy and Larry. They're like two kids fighting.
Yeah. It's almost like they're reliving. I imagine they're probably their teenage drama back in the day. That it hasn't gone away. Like they haven't fully gotten over that yet. It still comes out occasionally.
It's funny. And Cheryl, because she asked about her magazine as well, the Us magazine, and Larry says he threw it out. And she needed it because there was a phone number on the magazine, and we find out what that phone number is later on.
Yeah, she's very unhappy.
Very unhappy. Larry and Jeff are walking Oscar the dog as he tells Jeff about the jacket situation. Jeff asks if Larry is coming to the Playboy Mansion. He says it's unlikely due to the magazine situation, as he's already in the doghouse with Cheryl. Jeff persuades him to go as he says Larry's already in the doghouse. He's already made one mistake. He can make another one now while he's in the doghouse, which I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you're already in the shit with your spouse, if you go off and do one more thing, I mean, you're already in the shit. So what do you got to lose?
Yeah, if you just want to go see it's kind of a thing where if you really want to go do something, and in this case, Jeff and Larry really want to go see some naked ladies at the Playboy Mansion, they're going to make it seem like it's logic that works. They're gonna convince themselves, well, yeah, that makes sense. Of course it does, because they're just trying to justify why they want to go see some tits. But
yes,
if it was in a situation where they weren't just trying to justify them doing something that they know they shouldn't do, it doesn't work. Like the only time the logic works is if it gives you what you want. Which in this case for them is going to the Playboy Mansion. And by the way, they called it the double transgression theory.
The double transgression theory. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, it's flawed logic, as Cheryl comments later. She says, like, that was your logic. It
sure is.
It is illogical, but if you're in their situation, it is kind of logical, where you force it to be logical to create the situation where you feel okay about going to the Playboy Mansion. You're like, well, I'm already this far. Well, I'll just go a bit further. It doesn't matter. I'm already in the doghouse.
He's like, I threw out the magazine by accident, and now I can go to the Playboy Mansion. So I'm golden. I'm already deep in the shit. So what have I got to lose?
Yeah, it's in every other scenario. This doesn't make sense. It's like, well, no. The point is that you don't go further. The point is that you make amends, not go further down the dog.
You dig yourself out of your grave. You don't bury yourself further.
But if you need to dig deeper to see some tits, you'll make it work. You'll be like, no, that makes total sense. And it's fine. That's what I mean. Like it only makes sense in their minds in this situation because they just want to go see some tits at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, they're like teenage boys.
Yeah.
Thick as thieves, those two.
Yeah, they've convinced themselves that it's logical and that it works because it leads to seeing boobs.
Yes. Larry eventually accepts heading to the Playboy Mansion with Jeff, and he says he'll bring Wilson, the boy, there. Larry is walking downstairs in his house as Andy is on the phone. And Larry tells Andy to take off his smoking jacket and that Larry's dad promised the jacket to him since he was 14. And he says he's making his way to the Playboy Mansion. Andy gets off the phone and begs Larry to take him along. Larry says it's not his decision to go as he's a guest of Jeff's. Larry says to give him the jacket in exchange for entry to the mansion, and Andy gives it to him right away. Larry says he'll go get it dry clean.
Yeah, as soon as, kind of like Larry and Jeff, as soon as the prospect of tits are on the cards, anything that you're holding on to just goes out the window. He's like, no, the jacket's mine. But when Larry's like, well, if you give me the jacket, I'll take you to see some boobs. He's like, okay, there's no. He
just gives him the jacket right away.
Yeah, everyone in this episode is principled until they get the opportunity to see some boobs, and then all of their principles, all of their convictions, all of their positions, they're all just out the window. I just want to see some tits.
Well, boobs are generally fantastic. So
I mean,
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably made a lot of questionable decisions, or not questionable, but like I've probably compromised on my own like morals, or not in a serious way, but I've probably like let go of convictions I've had in a way to, if it means I can see some boobs. So,
we all have, mate.
Yeah,
we all have. In my younger days, I did the same thing.
We're all just like horny animals at the end of the day. So I get it. I'm not saying not saying I wouldn't do the same thing. I'm not holding their their moral their compromised morals against them. But it's just funny that he's so staunch about like no, the jacket's mine. They're fighting about it. They're arguing about it. He's even wearing it in his house, which is kind of like a fuck you to Larry. Like it's he's really sending the message that this is my jacket. But as soon as Larry dangles boobs in front of him, he's like, whatever, take it.
Take it. It's yours.
He doesn't care. It's just boobs. No. Boobs are the corruptible force in this episode. They just make everyone.
It's a theme.
Yeah, which is fine. It's boobs. They're it's all good.
And we see some boobs later on.
We do.
Actually, I think it's the first time. Isn't it like, it's one of the only times we've seen so far on Curb where we actually see like
it's not boobs. It's not a very gratuitous show in terms of nudity or sex. Like it's always suggested or implied. So yeah, I think you're right. And it's funny as well because HBO is like, normally it's like for TV, especially in this time, boobs are like front and center, literally. Like you think about
Remember Game of Thrones, like the first 3 seasons? It's like every second scene had boobs in it. Like,
and I mean like even Oz, which was sort of like the first HBO show that's considered like the precursor to, The Sopranos and, the start of the golden age of television. And Oz is just like dicks and boobs and bums and vaginas and all of it.
Oh, everything. Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's probably the most clothed HBO show so far at this point in time.
Yeah. I wouldn't pick Larry as like real life Larry David as someone who wants breasts in every shot.
No. It doesn't. It would feel forced if it was common. But if half of your episode
and be very gratuitous as well.
It would just be like, this is not the sort of show that needs boobs. But if you're setting half your episode of the Playboy Mansion, it doesn't seem forced. It makes sense. It's like, well, yeah, that's if you're going to see boobs anywhere in Curb, it's going to be there.
It's going to be at the mansion, of course. Yeah, and speaking of the mansion, we do head to the front of the Playboy Mansion. Larry, Jeff, Andy, and Wilson are in the car. They go to the front gate and they wonder where the intercom is, and like the assistant or whoever says, "Speak into the rock." The rock is the intercom. Larry says that they're guests as they proceed up the driveway.
Yeah, they all look mildly confused when he says "speak into the rock." They're like, "Okay."
Speak into the rock. Yeah. They park near the front and get out, and they are in awe of the facade of the mansion, and it does look quite beautiful. Very grandiose. Is it grandiose? Grandiose. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Very grandiose, and very, very beautiful front garden. They walk to the pool where there's many scantily clad women and a few guys in there as well. The topless, Larry. The other guys are hanging just outside the pool area. Larry walks down the steps towards the pool. The topless women all look at Larry and scream as they cover their breasts and run out of the pool. They're all wondering what happened as Larry walks up and he says sorry to Wilson, and Larry says he has to go to the bathroom. I thought at first that maybe the ladies saw Wilson and they thought, "Oh, a kid, we better run." But that's what I was thinking. But I figured maybe because Larry was just fully clothed, he wasn't in his bikinis. It's just like they probably thought he was like some old perv who just turned up.
Yeah, I don't. No, I understand what you mean when they would have reacted. They would have been concerned or whatever when they saw Wilson, but I don't. They ran away like in terror. They weren't like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, in terror. Yeah, and Wilson, and they were kind of like obscured behind like bushes behind the pool area.
Yeah, I think if they reacted to Wilson, they would have been like, "Get him out of here!" Like they would have been more a bit like angry, like what's he doing here? Like get him out of here. That's not appropriate. But they ran away shrieking in terror as if like, I don't know, Larry got his dick out or something. It's you know what I mean? Like it wasn't. Oh, there's an underage kid here. It was, we are scared of what we're looking at. And in this case, it was
Larry. I think because he was like fully clothed and he's walked up to the pool area. Everyone was just in their bathers and stuff.
I'm sure
everyone was like, "Holy shit!"
I'm sure other than Hef, and a few other people, most people there are like young and hot and probably ripped as shit. So when you've got this like kind of dorky old dude just stepping down out of nowhere, and they turn around and is just there. And look, he was probably leering at them a bit, like, "Oh, sweet," he probably had a bit of a creepy look on his face as well.
Yeah.
Creeper.
Yeah, but even Hef, like he just wear like his jacket anyway. He wouldn't because Larry was just wearing like his pants, his shoes, his shirt.
Hef looks stylish. Like he looks like an old player. He looks exactly
a cool old guy. Yeah,
exactly how he should. Someone who had his life. Like he's not just like dressed in like dorky grandpa clothes like Larry is. Larry he looks like a creeper who just wandered in and just wants to see some boobs.
Yeah, and that's probably why they all freaked out. They're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I think they were like, "Who the fuck's this weirdo? Run away."
Yeah.
He's just some creeper.
So good.
is with you? What'd you do? I don't know.
Larry walks out of the bathroom where Hugh Hefner and two of the Playboy playmates are conversing in the hallway. They all say hello to Larry and they're making some small talk. He spots Hugh's smoking jacket that he's wearing and he says his father has the same one. Hugh says he doubts that, as it is an original Roselli from Italy. Larry says he'll show Hugh his jacket, which is in the car, as Larry walks off. Larry walks to the car and on the way he sees Andy flirting with one of the Playboy playmates who he's responding in kind. So yeah, you'd think that maybe Andy was flirting and maybe the girl's like, looking away or, trying to get away. But no, she's responding well too. She's flirting back.
Yeah, no, she's really into him. You know, she seems to be the only person who can tolerate Andy in any way. Everyone else hates him.
And she certainly can tolerate him in more ways we see later on.
She can, very much so. Yeah, she's very into it. I don't know. I was thinking, I'm like, why? Like, what is it? I'm like, maybe to her, Larry, maybe to her, Andy's like exotic. Like, he's this New York Jewish guy. Like, he's just not a typical person that she would interact with. So he's got this like almost exotic quality to him. He's just a bit.
I feel like as well. What was her name? Was it like Betty May or Betty Sue or something?
Betty Sue or Louis May or something like that. Yeah. Betty May.
I feel like maybe she's like one of those girl next door, like girls from like maybe like the Midwest or something, and she's maybe she's got a really nice personality.
Mm-hmm.
She came to LA to do some work and she became like a Playboy bunny or something.
Yeah.
Particularly I'm a model or something. Maybe she's like a really down to earth person.
Yeah.
And she thinks Andy's like a bit weird, but maybe she's a bit weird as well. Maybe she thinks he's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe she just sees something in him that other people don't, or she's not really concerned about the typical LA look, which is like hot and tanned and cut. She's just like, no, it doesn't matter what they look like. If I like them, I like them.
Whereas the other playmates probably wouldn't look at Andy that way. But I don't know, maybe she's just like a very down-to-earth person and she likes personalities more than looks.
That's possible. And look, I've met people in my life, guys who are very like awkward and dare I say like unpleasant to be around. Just not very attractive people like in terms of their personalities. But then they just have this ability. They've just got like a real silver tongue. Like they've just got a really smooth, like they are very successful with, the opposite sex. So maybe Andy's just got like the gift of the gab. Like even though he's unpleasant and he's awkward and no one really likes spending any time with him, when it comes to the ladies, he's just got the knack. Maybe he's just like a skilled flirter, He's
got the Kavorka.
He's got the Kavorka. One thing that did occur to me was maybe because he is, especially like with like, you said before that he's like he's always been jealous of Larry. He's probably jealous of Larry, like being, I think, was it in opening night where Larry meets him in New York and he says to Larry, hey, do you want to come and like look at some open houses with me? And Larry's like, what do you want to do that for? And he's like, oh, I just want to go there and like, I think he wants to be like, food. Yeah, I think he wants to like hobnob and rub shoulders with, the elite of the world. And that probably adds to his jealousy with Larry, because Larry, even though Larry's not like a fancy pants person, he's still very rich and powerful and successful. Like he still has access to that world that Andy doesn't on a regular basis. The point I'm making is that I wouldn't be surprised if Andy like used that to his advantage to like, oh, my cousin's Larry David. And like, he used it to like talk his own life up. Like, he kind of, he used Larry's success to make himself look good. And maybe that was impressive.
Maybe. Or maybe what Larry lacks in romantic tendencies and flirting, maybe Andy makes up for it.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like I've met people in life who are, you wouldn't think that they would have much success with dating or sleeping around, but they just, I don't know, there's something about it. They've got the charm or they've got the whatever it is. Maybe he's just got that.
I met many guys like that. I met many people in my life who like, average to below average looking dudes and they were like babes. Like not, like sometimes maybe just like, one-nighters or whatever, but sometimes like they become like the girlfriends and stuff. It's like, holy shit. She's like,
they've just got,
she's like a 10 out of 10. Like, she'll be a model. Jesus. Who is this?
it's unexpected because you're like, you're not very good with like social situations. How the hell are you picking up these hot people? What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing?
Look, I would put it down to either he's like talking his own life up a bit because he's jealous of Larry and he wants to just take advantage of that, or he's just got some like unknown flirting ability that you just never see up until this point. One of the two, or that she's just a down to earth person and she just likes him for what she just likes him for who he is, and that's fine too.
And maybe she's used to like maybe because she's probably been at the Playboy Mansion for a while. Maybe all the guys she's met are probably all like sleazy and they try and come onto her, try and grab her leg or something, be like, hey, you want to go upstairs or something? Maybe they just want to initiate, sex right away. Whereas Andy's probably one of the first guys to actually like have a conversation with her rather than see her as like a piece of meat so to speak.
No,
You know,
that-
she's like a person.
That's true too.
So she feels respected. So she gives Andy the chance to explain himself.
Yeah,
What do you
no,
think? That's a good
that's-
theory number 4?
No, yeah, it could be any one of those. I think is feasible.
Yeah, any one of those could work. Yeah, I agree. Because when he mentions her name, like Betty Sue or Louis May or something, like, oh yeah, she's from like, you know, she's from the Midwest, like Alabama or something. Yeah, and she's come to LA to do some modeling.
Yeah, I don't think you hear her talk, but that's a very stereotypical, Tennessee or Kentucky name or Alabama.
Yeah, Tennessee,
like
that area. Yeah.
Yeah, the South.
The South. Yeah. She's probably from there. That's my guess.
Betty.
Yeah, it's the name that gave it away.
Betty May and Billy Bob.
Yes. Larry, anyway, after all that, Larry walks to the car where Wilson is sitting. Larry asks what's the matter as Wilson is upset. And he says his wish didn't come true. Larry asks Wilson to get the jacket from him, which is in the car. Wilson asks why he needs it, and he says he wants to go back to the hospital as his day is ruined. And they fight as Larry tries to get the jacket from outside the car. So, Wilson's very upset. He hasn't seen boobs, and, he probably doesn't have long left to live, and he'll die without his wish being granted.
I'm surprised he gave up so easily. You know, like all the girls ran away and he's like, oh, well, that was my only chance. It's like, no, if you hang around, there might be another chance.
He's probably thinking that maybe, I reckon, I feel like this isn't the first time that Wilson has asked someone to go see boobs. I feel like he's probably tried several times. And maybe like people who visited people before Lewis in the other bed, maybe he's asked other people and overheard their conversations. And then other people are like, oh, I'm not doing that, you sick kid, or, you idiot. So maybe Larry's like the first person who's actually like agreed to it. And maybe, after, so much rejection, this is my theory anyway, but after so much rejection, Wilson finally has someone who's affirmative to the idea. And then he thinks he's in and at the Playboy Mansion of all places, basically like Boobs Central in LA. And he fails. He can't even see boobs at Playboy Mansion. So he's like, I can't even see boobs there. What hope do I have?
No, like I understand that. I get you would feel so defeated. Like you've come this far and you had your chance taken away from you. And the boobs were like 20 meters away. You almost saw them and then they all ran away in front of you. Like, I understand why you'd feel very defeated after that. But I just thought for someone who's so determined as him to see boobs, like he's willing to manipulate this old stranger, blackmail him for, apparently trying to turn the life support off and probe a doctor about when he's going to die. He asked the Make-A-Wish Foundation, like he's obsessed with this goal to see some boobs. And at the first opportunity lost at the Playboy Mansion, and again, like it's not like he was kicked out of the Playboy Mansion straight away. If he just hung around, I'm sure some random Playboy bunny would have walked past and he would have seen a pair of boobs. I just think there would have been more chances if he was, if he just persisted after that initial disappointment after all the girls ran away. He would have been like, well, that didn't work out, but it is the Playboy Mansion. I'm sure there are just boobs floating around everywhere. I'll hang around and maybe there's another chance. A kid so determined and so willing to go so far and blackmail people.
He was so defeated.
Yeah. It was just surprising that he was willing to just. I mean, what would have he told? They never answer the question. What did he tell the hospital? Like, I'm sure he can't just leave the hospital on a whim. Like, I'm sure
he's allowed to have visits.
Yeah, but like, he would have to give a pretty good reason for this random stranger and his manager and his cousin to take him out of the hospital. Like his parents would have had to have signed off on that. He's not 18. So he obviously lied to the hospital or somehow manipulated his parents into giving him permission to leave to go out with Larry because he doesn't know Larry. So you sort of like he's so determined to see boobs and he just gives up and goes sits in the car after one setback. I just thought he would have persisted and hung around until he saw his boobs.
Yeah, he felt pretty defeated.
Yeah, maybe it was just that. Like he had his hopes. So he's come this far. And the boobs are 15 meters away and it's going to happen. I guess it's like if you're in the desert and you're just struggling for water and your will to live is just keeping you going and going and going. And then there's a mirage on the distance, and you're like, finally, my will has taken me to, this oasis, and then it's a mirage. And then you just like, it's like the final nail in the coffin. Maybe it was like that. Like his will just ran out of steam.
He's gone to the Willy Wonka factory and he was one of the kids who gets trapped in the machines.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He goes there for the promise of chocolate, aka boobs, and then it backfires.
Yeah.
So it's
I
probably
think the difference though is with that comparison is like they were taken out of the factory not by their own choice. Like they fell into a machine or whatever. It's not like Willy Wonka just said, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to give you any chocolate," and they were like, "Oh, okay," and just went home. Like they would have hung around.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Surprising that he gave up so easily. I would have been like, "Well, you've come this far. You've manipulated someone. You've lied to the hospital. You've like asked your Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like you are dead set on this goal." And I understand why you'd feel defeated after all these hot girls ran away when they're 10, 20 meters in front of you. And you can probably walking towards the pool, he could probably make out that there was a bunch of naked girls. And he's like, this is it. This is what it's leading to. But I would have personally been like, well, that sucks, but I'm still going to hang around the Playboy Mansion until we have to go. Because there might be another chance to see some boobs.
Oh, well, poor kid. He's got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot to go through. So
his boob power just isn't as strong as mine, I guess.
I guess not, but he's got a lot to battle through as well.
Yeah,
so he's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Larry walks in the door and apologizes to Hugh for not knocking as he has the jacket. Hugh tries on the other jacket and he and the playmates from before like it. As Hugh walks into a room, shuts the door to go check it out. One of the playmates asks Larry where he lives. He says, Los Angeles, and they look at him blankly as they make chit-chat for a while. The scene cuts several times and it's implied that Larry talks to the playmates for a very long time. Larry is wondering why Hugh is taking so long to check on the jacket as the conversation begins to get more awkward. So we see as the scene cuts, so Larry's talking about random stuff, and we notice like at the start, the playmates seem, happy to talk to Larry and very attentive, but we see as it cuts, by the end of it, they're really awkward towards him. You can see like it gets more awkward as they go along.
Yeah, I think as the topics of conversation become a bit more weird and just like irrelevant, they're just like, okay, like this guy's just, they just get more and more unwilling to listen to his weirdo shit.
Yeah, I just love it how at first they were all like, they seem pretty like attentive and happy to talk to Larry. And and then suddenly just like you see it like regress, the conversation. Yeah. And then they're just like waiting on Hugh to get out. They're like, come on.
Yeah, Larry in small doses, when he's just like going on a bit of a rant. It's like, again, like I've met people in real life kind of like Larry where they're really negative and really cynical. And in short amounts, they're really funny because they're just like, they're kind of witty and they poo-poo things and it's funny. But like after a while, it's just a drag. You're just like, all right, shut up, man. Like just in small doses, someone like Larry, when he's in this mode, is really funny, because they're cynical and they're just like ranting about stuff and they're just, they're witty and they're funny. But after about 10 minutes, it's just like, all right, dude, shut up. Like just
too much.
Just cut it out. Like it's done.
It's done. Hugh walks out a while later and he says that Larry's knockoff jacket is very impressive as he walks off wearing it. And he puts I think it's the Roselli jacket he puts on a hanger. Hugh puts both jackets on the hangers and Larry grabs Hugh's original one as he walks off. So, did he deliberately grab Hugh's one? I was a bit confused about this scene. Did he mean to grab Hugh's or he grabbed the knockoff, his dad's one?
Well, when he walked out.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was grossed out by the fact that he swapped them deliberately.
Or his dad's.
He didn't want the toilet jacket.
Oh, the toilet jacket. Oh, that's what it was. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he went to the toilet with it.
Because Hugh tried it on because, to see how good this knockoff was. And then as soon as he tried it on, he was like, oh, wow, this is a really good jacket. And he went to the toilet. And then...
Oh, he went to the toilet. I got confused. I thought he went to maybe go check it in the mirror or something.
No, I think he went to the toilet.
I got confused. I was like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Magazine. Yeah. It's like a magazine.
Yes, like the... So the magazine was like the lead up to it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it took ages, because he was probably doing a big, long shit.
And it probably takes him like an hour to do a shit.
Probably,
There was like 80 at the time.
Yeah, no, and Larry was, and when he came out, Larry was grossed out because he's like, oh, great, a toilet jacket. He's obviously.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then because both jackets are there when he leaves, he's like, well, I'll take the non-toilet jacket. It's not only a non-toilet jacket, it's also like a sweet Hugh Hefner jacket. So why not?
Yeah, take it. That makes perfect sense. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I got confused. I was like, okay, because he didn't mention he was going to the toilet or anything, did he?
No, I think it was just implied. Like, yeah, I think it was implied because it happened the day before at his house with Andy.
Yes, of course. And the magazine, yeah, okay. It leads to it explains Larry's attitude towards toilet items. Okay.
Yeah, anything that's taken into the toilet with you is automatically contaminated.
It's contaminated and you have to burn it or you got to replace it.
Exactly. And in this case he upgraded the jacket in more ways than one. It was a non-toilet jacket.
Original Roselli from Italy. Not bad.
Yeah,
A tailor-made one. Not bad.
And it was and it was also Hugh Hefner's, which adds a lot of, cachet to it, I guess.
Yeah, good play by Hugh. Hugh allowing an episode to be filmed at his mansion, and they got to wear his jackets. That's pretty cool. Good on Hugh. Good on Hef.
Yeah,
Pretty,
I
pretty
think
cool about it.
I mean, Hef's obviously not a very uptight guy. I think he's happy he doesn't seem like the sort of person who's very it doesn't surprise me that he was willing to go along with that storyline and let half the episode happen at the mansion.
Yeah, that's cool. Good on him. Well, rest in peace,
someone
man.
like Hugh Hefner, who started a soft porn empire and is a person, his whole personality and his whole mythology is the ultimate man's man in terms of womanizing and just that lifestyle. It's hey, can we film a TV show at your mansion? It's yeah, cool. He was probably a very easygoing, cool dude.
Yeah, he probably was. Yeah, rest in peace, man. Too bad he's no longer with us. What a legend.
No, he lived a life.
Every woman loved him, and every man wanted to be like him.
Yeah, that was the
every
same.
woman wanted to be with him, and every woman wanted to. Every woman wanted to be with him, and every man wanted to be like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yep. Legend. In the next scene, Cheryl accosts Larry for going up to the Playboy mansion to see naked women. These are her words. Larry says most of them were covered up. Cheryl says that the phone number on the magazine she wanted was for Larry's gift, revealed to be lunch and a round of golf with legendary golfer Gary Player, as Gary told Cheryl that he is a huge Seinfeld fan. He says that she threatens to rip the phone number up as Larry rushes down the stairs to apologize for what he did. So Larry is halfway up the stairs, so it's in the hallway, and Cheryl threatens to rip the number, and Larry just comes tumbling back downstairs.
Yeah,
and tells her, no, don't rip the number. I'm sorry for what I've done.
Yeah.
And she said, Gary Player is your favorite player. You said he's better than Palmer. And Larry's like, wow, you actually remember that. You remember I said that. Yeah, he said that a long time ago, and Cheryl remembered, which is really cool. And Gary, Gary was really happy because he loved Seinfeld too.
Yeah, no, it was a win-win. It worked out. And look, it doesn't surprise me that Cheryl's a very thoughtful person. Even though she puts up with a lot of Larry shit, and as we say, most episodes, you can see the signs of their marriage slowly falling apart. She still loves him, and she still wants to make him feel good. So it doesn't surprise. And she's a very considerate, thoughtful person. The fact that she remembers that about Larry says, I think, more about Larry than her. It doesn't surprise me that she remembered such an obscure fact and thought, and then turn that into a really awesome birthday present for him. I think the fact that Larry is surprised that she would remember is more of an indication of how little Larry kind of knows her. You should. If you've been married to someone for 10 years, you should have a really, really thorough understanding of who they are. And the fact that he's surprised that she would even remember, that she would care about him so much as to remember and then use that to make a awesome birthday for him. Yeah, that to me says more about Larry than her, that she obviously doesn't know her well because he's just not as invested into the marriage or as she is,
No. Whereas Cheryl knows a lot about Larry, and Larry, knows a bit about her, a bit about what she likes, but doesn't pay attention.
Yeah, it's just her who she is and wanting to understand as much as he can about her is not as much of a priority as her for him, sort of thing. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing that Larry was surprised that she remembered that. I just thought that said more about Larry than her.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Andy and Larry's dad arrive. Andy says that he had a date with a Playboy playmate, the one from the mansion we spoke about before, Betty Sue or Peggy May or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
Larry's dad says he doesn't like the nursing home as they're stealing from him. That's a reference to Kamikaze Bingo, where maybe the nursing home is corrupt, so the bingo is rigged, and maybe they all steal from each other too. So maybe he's onto something.
Yeah, there does seem to be.
They're all corrupt.
There's a bit of a racket there, of some sort.
A little bit, yes. There is. And he says that his smoking jacket went missing. Andy explains to Larry's dad that he sent it to him, and Larry says it was sent for him. Larry goes to get Hugh's jacket for him, and Larry's dad says, that's not his jacket. This isn't the one that I bought in Korea. This is totally different. And Larry can't believe it's a knockoff, his jacket. And Larry realizes Larry realizes that he's got to go back to the Playboy mansion to get his dad's jacket back.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess it's an open question even after the episode ends. Which one was the knockoff?
That's true. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I was like, did Larry grab the knockoff or not? Because
no, he definitely grabbed
Hugh's jacket. Yeah,
and it makes more sense that Hughes would not be a knockoff. If anyone's going to have a sweet tailor-made jacket, it would be Hugh Hefner. He wouldn't fuck around with knockoffs. But Larry's dad seems very, very confident that his is the knockoff. So it's this weird, who's right? And it's never really answered.
Well, I did say before that his dad's on the mental decline, so maybe he thinks it's a knockoff. But
Yeah,
it's
maybe. I mean,
actually the
maybe
real
he's
thing.
still sharp enough to realize that it's not his. Because there might be like a
Mm.
subtle difference that he could pick up. But he's not so sharp as to tell whether it's a knockoff or legit. He's just like, well, it's not mine, so it must be a knockoff, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Larry's dad.
Yeah. Look, if I had to choose who had the authentic and who had the knockoff, I would probably pick you because he's still got most of his faculties at this stage, and Larry's dad doesn't. So
Yeah, I mean,
and again,
yeah.
if you're going to pick someone to have like a sweet tailor-made jacket that's genuine, you're probably going to pick Hugh because he's Hugh Hefner. Like, of course, he's going to have that.
And Hugh, he knew style. He knew what was good.
Yeah, that's
So he
what
could
I mean.
feel it. He knows.
Yeah, if anyone's going to have like the best of the best clothing and like the sweetest smoking jackets, Hugh's not going to mess around with knockoffs. Like, he's got to have the best stuff, and he would know
Exactly.
whether it's legit or not. So yeah, if I had to pick one, I would pick you as having the
Yeah,
legit
I'd pick you as well. Yeah, absolutely. Larry's dad, unfortunately, is struggling to comprehend things.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think he's still sharp enough to realize that it's not his jacket. Like, it might be a different cut or like there might be some subtle difference that he could pick up because he's had it for so long. But yeah, I just think there's a bit of confusion there as well because he thinks that it's a knockoff.
Yeah. Oh, well. That's the way it is. Poor Larry's dad. Larry drives back to the Playboy mansion to go get his dad's jacket back. Hugh walks downstairs wearing the jacket and Larry explains the situation. Hugh says that he has the correct one and Larry says that he's actually wearing the knockoff. And Hugh says he doesn't have time for this and he says he has to go upstairs as they're waiting for him. And Larry says, who's waiting for you? Who's waiting for you upstairs? Probably like 20 playmates are waiting in the bed for him.
Yeah, I imagine he's about to have himself a big old orgy.
I think so too. I have a feeling he's ready to go. The old fella, get the blue pills out, ready to go. Give him 10 minutes, and he's ready.
It's about an hour.
Oh yeah. Oh, it made him feel young. Why not?
Yeah, I think when you said 10 minutes, I was going to say it's probably about an hour that he popped the pill ago. An hour ago.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. Had to
it
take it
takes
two
about
just in case.
I can say with authority it takes about an hour.
It does, yes.
But
so he says he actually has the correct jacket, and Larry says he's wearing the knockoff. So a bit of confusion there.
Yeah, but Hugh seems very confident. It's like, I don't have time for this. Like, I know my jacket. Like, it's almost like everything he says. There should be like a little subtitle that's like, I'm Hugh Hefner. Like, of course, like, I'm fucking Hugh Hefner. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I know a legit. I know a legit jacket because I'm a fucking Hugh Hefner. What are you going to do about it? Like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't have time for this. I have all 20 playmates waiting for me, half naked, ready to go.
Exactly.
Back at the hospital, Larry asks the doctor, the same one from before, if Lewis has gotten any worse, and he says that he's the same. The doctor appreciates Larry's dedication to visit Lewis as he walks off. So there you go. You mentioned before that the doctor commented on Larry's visits, and he's appreciative of him. He mentions it in this scene.
Yeah.
Wilson opens the curtain and asks how his wish progress is going, and Larry says he's out of ideas. He tells Wilson to get dressed, and he'll figure something out. Larry and Wilson drive home, have to drive home to get Larry's cell phone, as he says Cheryl's in New York and he needs his phone with him in case she rings. They walk into the house and they walk in on Andy having sex with the Playboy playmate from before in his guest room, and Larry is shocked. Andy is shocked as the naked playmate waves hello, and Wilson smiles. So he got his wish.
Yeah, it just worked out. It fell into his lap. Just
and he's wrapped.
Yeah, it all worked out for him.
And even she doesn't mind. She's like waving, saying hello. She had like a smile on her face and stuff. She's like hello.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a Playboy playmate, you're probably going to be pretty comfortable with nudity and not have many hang-ups and be, I mean, you're not a porn star, but like no. other than like sex, your body's on display, so you got to be pretty comfortable. So it doesn't surprise me that it doesn't phase her that these two randoms.
And she's probably thinking like, maybe this boy's seen me in Playboy. She stole like his dad's Playboy and seen me nude anyway. So what do I have to lose? It's like, you've probably seen this already.
And she probably thinks. She might even think that she's doing him a favor. Like, well, you would be aware that a lot of 14-year-olds are jerking it to your photos in a magazine. So it's like, well, why not give him that opportunity in real life? Not jerking it, but like, well, why not?
No.
Why not give him like a better version of what he'd see in a magazine?
Exactly, and then he'll have those memories until he passes.
Exactly,
and then Wilson can die happy now.
Yeah, I was about to say before we talked about this scene, it surprises me that Larry's still very dedicated to trying to help him out. You think, like Larry took him to the Playboy, like he did something for him. He went along with.
Probably feels sorry for him.
Yeah, I think he probably feels bad as well that he fucked up his opportunity by scaring all the girls away. But I don't know. It would make sense to me more if Larry, when he saw Wilson again at the hospital, he's like, well, I already tried once. It's like that's as far as I'm taking it. Like, you're on your own now. but he's still like, okay, I'll figure something out. But yeah, it's probably out of guilt.
You did make a good point last week where you described Larry in the fact that even though he does stuff to people unintentionally or sometimes intentionally, he doesn't wish harm on anyone. You made a really good point about that. So maybe
he's
he
not a
thinks that
malicious-
maybe the boy, if he never sees tits, for the rest of his short life, maybe that'll like make him feel hurt. So he does everything he can to help Wilson out.
Yeah, he's probably like, well, I really want to see tits. So if I can help out a dying boy to see tits, then like he's a kindred spirit.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hurt Wilson.
Exactly.
By not
yeah.
doing it for him.
Yeah, no,
but you made a good point last week. You mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Larry's mostly not malicious. I mean, occasionally he can just be a venomous cunt. Let's be honest. Like,
oh yeah.
Occasionally he's just a straight up asshole, but most of the time the misfortune and the pain that he causes people is not out of maliciousness. It's just out of thoughtlessness or carelessness. It's not out of like a willful malicious intent.
Agreed.
Occasionally, but yeah, so he probably just feels, if it was just like a regular boy who wasn't dying, I don't think he would care as much. But the fact that Wilson's, like he's a young boy dying of cancer or of some sort of terminal illness. Yeah, there's probably that as well. We're just like, well, if he was just some random boy who tried to blackmail him, he'd be like, oh, piss off. Like, I don't owe you anything. Like, piss off. But yeah, the fact that he's dying, it probably adds an extra element of urgency to it. He's like, well, I got to do this for this kid.
Yeah. I know, happy that Wilson got his wish. I think it would have been a bit, even though his wish, probably for a kid probably isn't appropriate, but I think it would have been a pretty of a sad ending for Wilson if he never got what he wanted. But I really appreciate the fact that he actually got what he wanted, and he can die happy now. That's excellent.
When you say that Wilson, I think his wish makes more sense. If I was a 14-year-old boy, over anything, I'd probably want to see some boobs more than go to Disneyland.
100%.
Or meet Michael Jordan, whatever. Like, to me, it makes more sense, his wish being who he is and his age. I think the
hormones. Yeah.
I think the inappropriate part comes in where an adult is willing to indulge that wish. Like that's, like the Larry aspect and the Make-A-Wish found, like that's the inappropriate part, not the fact that he just wants to be a young horny boy who wants to see boobs. Of course he does.
Of course. And I think like with Larry, I think as well, just seeing boobs, I mean, it's not like a harmless thing. I mean, it's not, it's a harmless thing. Seeing breasts. I mean, it's not like the boy said, I want to have sex with a woman. Then Larry would be like, I don't want to be involved in that. Because number one, that's like statutory rape and I'll go to jail for facilitating this, and it's totally wrong. So yeah, I guess seeing breasts is quite harmless.
Yeah, I guess it's more a case of like, look, if Larry, Larry going to an effort to get him to see boobs, he might not be breaking any laws, but I think it's just a bit like weird and gross. Like this strange old man is driving you around trying to show you a set of tits. It's just maybe it does break a specific law. I don't know, but it just has this air of like just creepiness to it. It's just a bit like, I think that's more where it's like it's just inappropropriate.
It is inappropriate, yeah.
He's not like hiring a sex worker or like crossing any specific lines. It's just
no.
It's just generally weird. Like this stranger old man, willing to go to great lengths to get this boy to see a set of tits in order to not be dobbed in about, his ulterior motive when it comes to Lewis.
His ulterior motive, yeah, which Larry in his subconscious does not want his kidney removed at all costs.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But Wilson, he accidentally gets his wish granted, which is great.
Yeah, it happens anyway, so good on him.
Good on him, yeah, accidentally too. The scene cuts to Wilson in the hospital with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they ask if he wants another wish, and Wilson says that he wants the Roselli jacket from Hugh Hefner. So, he feels like Hugh Hefner now. Good on him.
Yeah, I think
his confidence is back.
Yeah, his confidence is back, and it's given him like a bit of a second wind, and he's really upped the stakes as well. I thought as well, maybe he's like, well, if I ask for Hugh Hefner's jacket, maybe I'll get another chance to go to the Playboy Mansion to get it from him, and I'll get another. He's like trying to create an opportunity again to see more boobs.
Oh, well, good on him. If that's the case, then good.
Yeah, it's like, well, it didn't work the first time. Maybe the second time I'll get to see boobs at the Playboy Mansion.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty smart. Like I said, he's very sharp. He's like, how else can I create a situation? Already saw my first set of boobs. Awesome. I want to see more boobs. One set's not enough. How can I create a situation where I can go back to the Playboy Mansion? I'll ask for Hugh Hefner's jacket. That it might not work, but it's worth a shot.
And Hugh might be a cool enough guy to offer it to him.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh might be like, yeah, cool, come on down. And then, the kid comes to, he's going there, quote, to get his jacket, but really he's just going there to potentially see some boobs.
Yes. Once you've had one, you can't stop, like Pringles.
That's it.
In the final scene, Larry is wearing his green jacket, and his green jacket that Jeff got him at the start of the episode, and he meets Gary Player for lunch. Gary shows Larry his master's jacket, which looks very similar to Larry's. He offers for Larry to try it on as Gary tries on Larry's jacket and closes the door, implying he's going to the toilet. And Larry realizes he's in the same situation as he was before with Hugh Hefner. So that jacket is stained, so they might take the Masters one instead.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice little cameo by Gary right at the end there.
Yeah, no, he seems like a very friendly dude. He's happy to have him over. He's as stoked as Larry.
He's a Seinfeld fan. Makes sense.
Yeah, they're both as stoked as each other, which is really cool.
Yeah, they're both meeting it's like two fans of each other meeting each other.
Yeah, it's not like a fan meeting a singer or something. It's like they're equally as much of a fan of each other as that did make sense. They're
both gushing over each other as much.
Yeah, they like each other's work equally. They're both fans of each other, which is sweet.
They're both they're both huge fans,
which is cool. But very. I thought the ending was funny, but I just thought it was a bit clunky in that the jacket, the same situation happened the day before or 2 days before or whenever at the Playboy Mansion. It was a bit I don't know. I just thought they could have done something a bit better rather than just repeat.
I think they just needed a way to end it. And, it's already been done with the magazine and Hugh's jacket. So and because Larry has a green jacket very similar to Gary's, that's probably the way that they were going to tie it up.
Yeah, look, it made sense in the context of the episode. It was just a bit I don't know. I always describe
repetitive.
Yeah, exactly. I always describe Curb as a bit of a it's like you kind of have to suspend your belief that someone, in a matter of 3 or 4 or 5 days, the course of an episode can run into so many unfortunate coincidences. That just doesn't happen in life. So, you go into it as a viewer, with that, and that's fine. But for some reason, this one, I was just like, oh, come on, a third time in 3 or 4 days that something important to Larry is now tainted. It was just a bit repetitive.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
That's
a bit of lazy writing.
Yeah. But I don't know. Saying that, I don't have any better ideas of how they could have ended it. I'm not saying that I've got a better idea, just saying as a viewer, it was a bit you kind of, this is the comedy crux of the whole show and you're just repeating it over and over again. That's all.
I'm sure if they had an extra 15 minutes, they'd have Larry and Gary fighting each other on the course like Bob Barker and Happy Gilmore did.
Yeah.
The price is wrong, bitch.
The price is wrong, bitch. Crack.
Yeah.
Bob,
we started talking about Happy Gilmore at the start of the episode. Now we're bookending it talking about Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, speaking of repetitive, here we are.
Here we are indeed. Anyway, that was The Smoking Jacket. I give this one out of 5 Larrys, 2.5, Steve. Probably the weakest episode of the season. I mean, there were some funny moments. I did like Wilson the Kid. I thought he was pretty funny. But yeah, you're right. Some of the jokes didn't quite land. Some of them were a bit repetitive. And I didn't appreciate the fact that the whole the main storyline for this season is Larry trying to find out about his roots, his adoption, and not much updates on the private investigation. No appearances from Omar. No phone calls from him. It's like that kind of story just kind of went on hold a little bit. And this episode kind of didn't really progress the story forward, which is a bit disappointing.
No, I didn't mind aspects of it. Overall, I think it didn't quite work, but there were parts that I thought were really good. I think I said at the start, there were equal amounts as weak parts as good parts, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But yeah, the good parts they were really good. I think the only thing this added to the adoption storyline was, Andy verifying that it's not something that's ever been discussed around him or his family. It fleshed it out a bit in that respect that, no one else in Larry's family know about this. So it kind of closed off that part of the storyline in Larry's mind of maybe Andy knows about it, or maybe someone else in my family knows about it. And Andy
maybe it's a secret and they never told Larry.
Yeah, and Andy's no. Yeah. So it kind of closed that avenue off that, maybe they could explore. So I think that added to it in a small way. But yeah, you're right. It wasn't. Possibly. It didn't really flesh out the overall adoption storyline.
How many Larrys did you say you gave it?
Oh, I didn't score it, did I? I agree with you. 2.5.
2.5. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fair. Oh, well, hopefully next week's episode is much better. We'll see how we go.
We will. In the meantime, you can email us. curbcastpod@gmail.com is our email. We're on social media as well. You can check out the links for those in the show notes. Curbcastpod is our handle. You can support us financially. You can check out our Patreon. Again, the link is in the show notes. And if you want to support us without dedicating any bucks, you can. Just rate us or review us on your podcast app of choice, or spread the word. That would be fantastic.
Indeed. My name's Ivan.
I'm Stephen.
Thank you very much for listening. Really much appreciated. And we'll catch you next week for Season 5, Episode 7 of Curbcast. You take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of Mishmash Media, an independent podcast network. Follow us on social media at Mishmash Media AU or support us on Patreon. All those links are in the show notes.